And now, the moment you've all been waiting for.
So I'm here chatting with Shaun Blaney from the RTE drama Storyland production, FARR. How's it going, Shaun?
Very good, thank you, Sean.
Well, excellent. If you felt really bad, we would hope you'd be polite enough to lie to us for a little bit so that this interview could go well.
Oh, sure, yeah, no problem. I'm really depressed at the minute.
Good. Just clamp down on that. Keep mum. That's about it. And you can go back to your life, after this is over with
Magic.
no wiser. So for anyone out there who doesn't know, Shaun, how would you describe what Storyland is for RTE?
RTE would say it's a really good springboard for new and emerging talent to come through. We find it to be just that, as well as a really good opportunity for us as kind of indie filmmakers who've never been used to working for a client before to actually have that pressure whilst having mentors to kind of take us through what working for a film television production would essentially be. I know the FARR itself is a web series, but it was treated by RTE like it would need to be broadcast standard on TV. So it was a fantastic opportunity for us to kind of see everything that's involved with that, as well as being supported and having a really good showcase at the end with four other companies to push the work and also learn about publicity and marketing and stuff with that as well.
And so the outcome of that is 4 about 5-minute long episodes that you can watch on the RTE player on rte.ie. But what I'm wondering is about the process for getting into Storyland. Was this something that you were aware of before? Because this is the 5th year, I believe, of Storyland. Is this something you constructed an idea for specifically?
It was quite strange. Aidan, who's the director, and myself got together to create some work that we would be interested in, and we're very much interested in our crime fiction and action movies, and it's something that we've never attempted before with short films. And while we were getting together, we were talking for about a month about what FARR could be when Aidan came into the coffee shop and said, why don't we try and throw something into Storyland here? Mm-hmm. And so we had about a month to get something together in a kind of application format and everything that they would need. We got a production company on board in Sterling Television and Film, and they kind of really helped us and give us guidance. And we got a top-notch producer who is our own age and just as hungry as us, called Margaret McGoldrick, because we're creatives. We're terrible with the business side of things. So we got the producer who would handle us and rein us in and contain us. And then we approached Storyland with the application and a 30-second teaser that we shot in one day, which nothing's lifted out of the FARR episodes. It was kind of just running about Belfast, taking different shots from different places and trying to make it seem like the essence of what we wanted FARR to be.
Yeah, the nitty-gritty crime drama.
That's it, yeah. And then we took it to RTE, and after about a half-hour interview process with them, they got back to us 2 weeks later, and we were just very, very surprised more than anything else. It took us by surprise that we were trusted, I think, to do this as well. But I think they really loved the idea in the initial interview, and they've seen what it could be, thankfully.
Well, it actually does seem kind of tailor-made for RTE in a lot of ways, given, I think about my mum and dad. You know what I mean? And this is the kind of thing that they will argue about watching, because my dad will watch it straight away, my mum will want to watch it later, we'll have to Sky Plus it. It's going to be a whole thing. So it's interesting, because I wasn't sure if you would come up with what would RTE want, or if it had just been coming up with what you guys wanted to do. So it's great that it worked out both ways, it seems.
Oh yeah, we were happy, and RTE were coming off Love Hate and stuff, which is an amazing show, and we were very much, I think Aidan and I were very much influenced by all the kind of crime dramas, but not maybe your CSIs, but your True Detective and Love Hate and The Shield and stuff. So we just wanted to make something that was quite like that, but had a flavour of Belfast with it. So we were just very happy that RTE were into it as well.
Okay, well that's cool. What I'm wondering is, once you get that call, and once it's like, okay, we're making these things and they're coming out and people are watching them,
Sure.
before that process and while it's happening, at what point do you start thinking about, okay, well, we could do this now? Like, what is the X? Like, now we get to go into the room and go, you remember this thing that we did with you guys? Are you guys
Yeah.
thinking about maybe whether it's a future for FARR or just other projects? Is it like, when you say it proved to be a great springboard,
Mhm.
what do you mean? Like, what's the big thing you've got in mind?
Well, I think from this, the main thing that we've been happy about is that we've been able to prove ourselves to RTE now, and RTE have been very supportive for FAR while we were making it, but also when we finished it, and they were really good with feedback. But we feel now that I think, and RTE will probably back us up, that there's a couple of doors open to us now that previously wouldn't have been opened. There's meetings that we can have with them, hopefully with them and with Sterling, and we're letting Storyland kind of run a wee bit because RT will no doubt be interested in pushing each new Storyland web series as it comes out. But hopefully at some stage we'll be able to get a sit down with them, and we've a much bigger universe that we want to explore than we had time to explore in FAR. There's more characters, more storylines, and Aidan and I have been kind of, Aidan mostly, but myself as well, have been kind of running wild. Went back to the coffee shop and just started doing everything that we did while we were making FAR, and getting very excited about it.
And I know that you're a co-creator as well as the lead in this, but was it a case, and it seems from what you've told me that that was like part of it as well, as you were discussing ideas, like what would you like to do, to act, to play.
Sure.
What about in terms of the writing? Like where did those jobs fall, and how much help did you get from RTE for that?
Well, basically, RT left us to ourselves. They would make suggestions in a kind of producer role. So that would be, maybe, have you considered changing this character, or have you considered maybe not changing a full character, but changing these lines, or cutting bits out to help with the flow of the scene, and kind of just kind of outside mentor type role. With me and Aidan, it was, we decided on the thing that we wanted to do together, and we kind of developed the characters together, and we were very good at bouncing off each other. We've worked together a couple of times now, and we have a good way of working with each other where we both help each other see characters in a different way. But in terms of dialogue, that was just all Aidan. I would kind of help him get to the point of, here's the characters that you can play with, and he'd go away and write it. And he's much better writer than me, and I prefer to act lines that I haven't written, because you can change them and you can do stuff with them. If you write lines, they get a wee bit stuck in your head in performance terms. But then Aidan would come back and we'd edit it together, and then it would be, I think, much stronger for the two of us bouncing off each other. And then we just get very excited. We get like 10-year-old boys when we're writing these scripts, and we're kind of like, oh, wouldn't it be so cool if this happened now with the gun? It's like, yeah. So
What's interesting about that though is that I wonder if that kind of like two-person, and obviously it's a much larger crew, right? But it seems like a lot of it is like two people making the show, or at least a large part of it, at least in the conceptual stages, and then doing a lot of it on the day as well. I don't know if you could preserve that doing, something more full length in terms of it. You know what I mean? Like an RT type thing.
yeah. I think if it gets to that point, we'd be happy with that challenge and accepting whatever kind of format the FAR takes on. I think we'll fight to keep it the way that it is now, because we enjoy the way that it is now. But that might not be the reality of a bigger production, and it's something we'll just have to embrace and work on as it comes. But all the experience is great for kind of seeing that. We've been very used to writing, directing, acting our own shorts, and there's very few people that can tell you no in that process.
Sure, yeah.
So it's been nice to have a producer and executive producers, and in this case a fantastic editor as well in Helen Sheridan. She's been editing The Fall and Game of Thrones, and she's just fantastic for telling you, this is terrible, we're going to lose this bit, when you've worked very hard to make it. But yeah, new challenges and just crossing bridges when they come, I suppose.
And so let's talk about FARR specifically for a little bit now. So you play a police officer with a secret.
Yes.
And even just saying that, I feel like 6 different TV shows or movies have popped into the heads of every single person listening to this.
Exactly. Yeah.
And which I can tell by the gleeful smile on your face is perfectly okay with you, and you're happy about that.
Yes.
So the idea, it seems, came from watching telly and liking it and wanting to make it, and then wanting to put some really cool moments together that you could be a part of.
Yes. Yeah.
And was there anything that came while doing this show that you were like, well, no, this is like our thing. Like this is the specific, this kind of stuff when it happens is FARR as opposed to being like anything else.
I suppose the main thing for us was the dynamic between the detective and his dad, who is also in the FARRs as well. So it was without rooting too much. Hopefully people have watched it, but it's the kind of family dynamic means an awful lot to us. And we haven't got enough chance to kind of show Michael as a cop who enjoys his job. At the minute, it's very family heavy, but we would like to indulge in those family scenes, in the scenes with the father, because we feel like that family dynamic is something that we haven't seen too many times. It's very hard to do a cop show or a kind of show for television that hasn't been done a million times over. So I think the kind of the family dynamic and whether that's a family that you're born with or a family that you build through work or through friends, which is something that we hope we'll be able to explore in better detail.
Because essentially what it is the secret is your dad is the guy that you're supposed to be trying to take down.
Yes, yeah.
Which we know from the first episode. So, but there's 3 more, so people can watch all of them, and it's fine. But what I thought was really interesting was there's a moment in a very early scene in the first episode where your character, it looks like they cock up something really basic, like you spill a drink, stuff, and I went, what the fuck is, oh no. I was like, what is this going to be about, a guy learning how not to be terrible at his job? But then it became very interesting then, straight afterwards, of that being an on purpose thing, because it was nice to see small moments like that. And also what I think is interesting is that all of the people in the show, and maybe this is an Irish thing as well, I'm not sure, but the people in the show aren't, it's not like they have a work mode, like, or an acting mode. It's not like a thing where they're like that, and then it's like, and then they go and be normal people, but then it's work. It's literally just you're a person who has a job, and it might be more like air quotes important or serious, but at no point did anybody have, until shit gets real, shall we say, at no point did anybody have any moments where, you started off going, listen, I just want to do my job. I just want to get the guy we need to get. We need to get him off the streets and clean him up. And I kind of appreciated that because it's a bit new. It was a bit new for us. And from the stuff
we did want to. Well, sorry, we did want to treat everyone as possible, as human as we could make them, because I think there's a very fine line between getting quite pantomime with this kind of stuff as well. Like you say, like the gritty streets and I have to clean them up and this is my time. We didn't want to do that. We just wanted to kind of show even our criminals. We wanted to show them as human as possible. Even the big man Cormac, we wanted to show him as having that father side and him trying to see which of his kids can take over the family whilst being heavily disappointed in all of them, apart from the dead one, unfortunately. But it's quite important just to make the scenes as real as possible, and hopefully we'll get more time with that.
And in terms of a longer plot structure, I'm sure you've thought about it and talked about it a lot. But was there a case where you ever didn't do anything, whether from RTE guidance or just your own ideas, where you're like, this is something we want to do, and then ended up being someone made the decision or you made the choice, this isn't the right thing, or did it become, this is the show?
There was just moments that didn't happen rather than the whole thing. There were some shots that we really wanted to do that I think RTE weren't too fussed with at the start because they just didn't see them happening. And once we did them, they were fine. There's a shot in episode, getting kind of interesting shots was quite important to Aidan as well, because this was the biggest stage that he's had to work on, and he wanted to do something that would push him visually as a director. So there was, and Aidan Galt being the DOP, it was our first chance to kind of get to work with him, and he's fantastic, up and coming DOP. But there was a shot in the garage car park where I'm chasing my partner Jennifer, I'm tailing her, and it kind of, in one shot, kind of travels. I'm running, chasing the camera, and it goes all the way back and reveals where Jennifer is as well. And that kind of shot, it's not your standard television shot, but it's something that we wanted to try and wanted to fight for, and in the end everybody was on board with it by the time the final thing came out. And there was one scene, the graveyard scene in episode 4, there was originally or the digging a grave scene, there was originally a monologue beside the grave when we started, and Aidan and I worked quite hard on getting that monologue. He'd written it, I had practiced it, and it got smaller and smaller and smaller to the edit until it's finally one line. And I think from outside forces saying to us, you don't need it, it's cack, you don't need it. And we eventually lost it. I think the scene's stronger for it. So yeah, there's been a lot of kind of influences coming in, but in the best way possible, I think.
I would be remiss if I didn't bring up, I have a professor, Sean Clark, over here in Vegas, who has a list of 10 things you're not allowed to do. And one of them is talk to a grave. Like, he literally has it every time. If you talk to a gravestone, I will kick you out of this class. It's just one of his things. And it would probably be raining. You'd have to wear a leather jacket. It'd be a whole thing. Yeah. How was the budget? Was it difficult? Was it tight?
It was tight, but at the same time, it's more money than we've ever had to play with. So when the budget was announced for what we would get for it, it was like make it rain. We were fine. It's like give it to us in tens, and we'll throw it all around the place. Which was fantastic. It's the most money that anyone's ever given us to do something, and we have been very used to stretching a meager budget very far and making the most of it. So whilst it was tight, our producer was fantastic and on the ball and reined us in. No golden director chairs, no 6 packs of Monster on budget. But she was fantastic. She actually came in under budget, and yeah, we were delighted with the money we got.
That's another great way to have RT like you. I mean, in a budget. But to be honest, it is a big ask, I feel, for a small budget to be able to make something look. For example, there's a raid. You have to do a raid, or at least there was a raid, and you had to figure out how much to show, or at least what parts of it to show. And I had never seen anything on RTE produced by RTE before, where you could have like 6 essentially SWAT people with big weapons with green lasers coming out. You know what I mean? Like the targeting things. It looked pretty well. So applause for everyone involved there.
Yeah.
So what about you? You said that you're growing a beard because you have to.
Yes. Yeah.
You're growing a beard because you have to. What are you growing it for? Is this theater? Is this film?
This is film, thankfully. I have a part in the Frankenstein Chronicles, which is shooting in Northern Ireland at the minute. It's just started for ITV, and I think it's set in London many years ago. And Sean Bean is playing the lead detective who is charged with finding Frankenstein while he's creating his monster.
Oh, you've got to pitch us this show proper. So, Frankenstein's monster. What about Dr. Frankenstein? Talk to me.
Oh, I don't think I'm allowed to. There's many details that I'm not sure. Basically, Sean Bean stumbles across the case and starts to investigate it. I dare not say anymore. I don't know how far I'm allowed.
Okay, well, we might have to get you to come talk to us more about that, because we love Sean Bean, and I read Frankenstein and had a lovely time. So, and detective stuff, what's not to love?
I mean, I heard he was in it, and I just crossed my fingers and hoped that he wasn't going to die, as Sean Bean often does. So hopefully he comes out okay. Yeah. But it sounds very exciting. I haven't got the set or anything yet. I was just told to grow a beard and grow my hair.
Okay. Well, I'm putting together the clues. You have to grow your hair. There's going to be a detective involved. I don't know if you're going to. Maybe you'll be like the brother of the monster. That's cool. So that's the next thing you have on your plate. I have to ask you, and this might be a thing that we move to like the end of the podcast, because I'm going to ask you about theatre, which the other louts that I do the podcast with surely would not entertain me to talk about such things.
Philistines.
Yeah, right. So you much prefer working on film, just based on the intonation of your voice there. Why is that? Beyond the obvious, and I'm rubbing my hands together in the way that signifies meaning.
Actually, I started off in theatre, did theatre for many years, and I do love it. Um, I think I just always preferred to go to the cinema than to go to the theatre when I was growing up, and even nowadays I prefer to go and watch a Marvel movie than go to the theatre, and that's shockingly bad, I know. But I'm getting mocked by my wife in the corner. She's uh, but yeah, I work quite frequently with a theatre company called Replay Theatre Company, and that's theatre for children, young ages, and disabled. So I would do an awful lot of schools tours and projects that are just for kids of a young age, and I honestly prefer that kind of theatre because you could either be going to space or taking the kids to a parallel dimension. It just seems like it's theatre, adult theatre, but just let run loose, and then you take all the swearing out of it. So yeah, no, I still love working in theatre. I've got a one man show coming up this year that's for teenagers, kind of battling loneliness and depression. So I still delve into theatre quite a lot, but it's usually just with Replay Theatre Company, happily.
Yeah, no, that's great. What's interesting, and I think this is probably a lot more common than people maybe talk about in interviews, but I bet a lot of actors, and I think actors specifically maybe more than other things, but I think a lot of actors just kind of want to do the things and be the things that they enjoyed watching other people pretend to be, and the stories that they like from when they were younger, which is pretty cool and normal and human. That's great. So, and any other projects then coming up that you wanna pimp out to us?
Yeah, there's we have a project myself. I'm playing the lead in it, another cop, but a cop who's not nearly as good at his job as Michael. It's I'll not call it a slasher horror, but it's definitely a horror movie called Braxton. That the producer of FARR, Margaret McGoldrick, she produced this as well. And it's from a young director called Leo McGuigan. A fantastic young director. I think he's 20 or 21, and he's just made his first feature film.
I hate him.
He's amazing. Like he just came along and he pitched it to me one day, and then all of a sudden he had this amazing crew around him and fantastic actors, and he made it for a very small budget, and now it's in post production. So Braxton should be coming out in Halloween time, I think. Perfect time of year for it. But it's going to be doing the rounds, going to the German market and stuff. It's going to film markets to try and sell and pick up investors now. But
cool. I was just going to ask you about where we could see it and when we could see it. Braxton. Okay, horror movie. Cool. All right. And anything else? I mean, if you play another detective, he's got to be terrible at his job. It seems like that's the direction it's going in.
Well, that's the thing. Is this the third detective? I'm getting cop roles at the minute. I'm totally happy with that, but getting a lot of cop roles.
Okay. Well, keep your own the beard. Who knows? You can be a junkie yet.
Yes. Yet. I love that. Thank you for saying yet instead of.
That's really cool. So we better wrap up because we've been getting on famously, but while being recorded. So we got to remind people that FARR, all 4 episodes are up on the RTE player, and they will be up there until I believe March, sometime around the 10th of March, or maybe a little bit later than that.
I think so.
Yeah. So make sure you watch them before that. So thanks from me, and thanks from everyone at Is It a Bicycle and all of our bicycasters who didn't get to have this interview. So thanks very much.
Thank you very much for having us. Cheers.